purpose of the argument for marginal cases makes a claim that eating meat is morally wrong by showing that a distinct moral line can't be drawn to separate humans and non-humans. So in order to best understand the argument for marginal cases, it is important to understand the moral status. So having a moral status means you receive full ethical considerations and that you also have a sophisticated cognitive capacity, therefore kind of making humans the only beings to have really a moral status. The proponents of the argument for marginal cases, however, brings into light the marginal cases of humans. So this involves people like infants, the senile, cognitively disabled, or the comatose, who don't have a sophisticated cognitive capacity but are still granted moral status. Argument for marginal cases then suggests that if these humans are granted a direct moral status, then so should non-human animals. Between the marginal cases and non-human animals, there aren't really any moral abilities that differentiate the two. And so the logic supporting this argument is also a form of proof by contradiction. You essentially place the marginal cases, the infants, senile, cognitively disabled, and the comatose on a level playing field with the non-human animals, solely in regards to moral status. And so as stated by the argument, since there are no known morally relevant abilities that are able to differentiate the two groups, you can't grant moral status to one group without also granting it to the other, because to do so would be to contradict your decision-making logic. Now, the argument for marginal cases also serves to show that there is no definitive moral line that can be drawn between beings that can and can't be granted moral status. A proponent of the argument for marginal cases, James Rachels, gives an argument in which that by accepting the theory of evolution, kind of thinking that human species were able to arise and develop through natural selection, we accept that at some point in our history of origin, we were non-human animals. And so as we evolved through our hominin timeline, we create a gradient as we transform from those non-human beings to human beings, which therefore casts an area of doubt whether you can place a solid line for beings that can have moral status. Having placed a line for moral status on our earliest form would be wrong because of our eventual capability for sophisticated cognition as well as moral status. So according to Rachels, doing so to animals would be wrong as well. Now, whether or not you agree with Rachels and the theory of evolution, or even with the argument for marginal cases, I would like to thank you for listening, and I hope you are better informed on the reasoning behind the argument for marginal cases.